Okay, map predictions for the game between Astralis and XSET in the quarterfinals of the Charlotte Major. So these are two NA teams going head-to-head. That's the reason I'm doing this video on these teams. I'm the most well-versed with them. This is, of course, a rematch from Stage 1. They played in Playday number 8. As you can see, they played on Villa. It was an 8-7 victory for Astralis, so as close as it could possibly be. So what is all the data we're actually looking at? Over here, we have the number of times each of these teams banned any given map. This is 0 bans on Oregon for XSET, and then these are the number of times these maps were banned against them. These are the matches that they played, Playdays 1 through 9, and then these are the overall records for the teams on each map. It's the game wins, and then round wins, and round losses, and game losses, I guess, too. And then over here, we have the data from the games that these teams just played in the group stage of the Charlotte Major, and then this is my prediction for how the ban phase will go. So my understanding is this is the structure. Each team bans a map, and then each team bans another map, and then they each pick a map, and then they each ban one more time, and then the final map left standing is the decider map, which may or may not be played. It could be a 2-0 for one of the teams. So there are 9 maps now. This is sort of the international debut of the 9-map system. We've seen some best of 3s in like regional tournaments, but right, this is the first time internationally we'll be seeing best of 3, and so the first time we'll see the best of 3 band system. Okay, I think it's just back and forth bans too. I don't think it's like some sort of looping structure, but I'm not 100% on that. I feel like this doesn't change too much even if they ban in the other order, but I was just sort of assuming Astralis ban first because they're the first seed. I don't know. Maybe that means they should ban second. Whatever. It doesn't matter too much. This is just how I arranged it. Okay, so let's go down the line. Chalet and Theme Park. I feel like these are the 2 maps least likely to go through. So looking at Clubhouse, actually, it was basically first banned by Astralis every time, 5 out of 6 times. We'll talk about that in a second, though. So Chalet, it was the only map that Astralis lost in the NAL. They lost it to Auction, so a good team, but it was, of course, their only loss, and it wasn't even especially close. 7-3 victory for Auction. And then XSET, they played it in the first week versus TSM. They took a loss on it, so that makes them 1-1 on the map. But I'm going to chalk the losses versus SSG and TSM up to it just being the first week, and they were a very new team, and they just had to sort a few things out. Of course, they're still losses, but I'm not going to weigh them as heavily as some of the other games that happened after that. This seemed to be the real XSET, everything that happened after that first week. So they went 1-1 on it. They took a victory over Parabellum, a 7-1 smashing, and Parabellum thought of as a pretty good Chalet map. Parabellum had changed up as a team, but okay, so XSET really seemed to learn from their game against TSM, and maybe they were just a really good map, really good on the map, but TSM was better on the map. TSM, I think that was the only map that they won on in NAL Stage 1, so take that for what it's worth. Okay, so XSET better on the map in NAL, and then it hasn't been played by either of these teams in Charlotte, so I'm going to assume that's going to continue. Astralis seems to not want to play it. They banned it quite a lot. They didn't ban it here, but they banned it here and here and here and here and here. So they banned it every time. I don't recall if BDS like first banned it or what, but obviously it was banned against them. They played Bank, not Chalet. So it seems like Astralis doesn't want to play it. It's a good map for XSET. And then Theme Park, sort of similar, but XSET has not been seen playing on it at all. They've perma-banned it, effectively. They didn't perma-ban it here. It was banned against them once, but they didn't play. I think it was like Sonics or something that banned against them. And because Sonics always banned Theme Park and Cafe, if I remember right. So, yeah, XSET, they've banned it, I think, every game here, too. Theme. They didn't ban it here, but they didn't play it. And then, so basically, they've perma-banned it. And so with all of the permaban maps, which are Theme Park, Club, and Cafe, and then maybe even Sky, but that's a little bit different. We'll talk about that when we get there. It seems like there is now potential for either of these teams to pull it out. So it's best of 3. You're probably going to have to play one map that you're at least less comfortable on than your opponent is. So maybe this will be Theme. It just seems weird for XSET to pull out to surprise the other team with Theme when Astralis is quite good on Theme. They went 2-0 in the NAL stage, 14-7 scoreline. They were really good on it, and then also they are 1-0 at the event. So not where you want to surprise your opponent if they're already good on the map. Same kind of thing with Clubhouse. Maybe Astralis pulls it out here. Like, it seems really unlikely. But if you are saving the map, you probably want to save it for a team that's not so good on it. XSET also quite good on Clubhouse. So that sort of takes out Theme. I don't think we're going to see it. They've also first banned it 3 times, and so very unlikely. Okay, moving on to the second round of the bans. Yeah, Clubhouse I've already talked about a little bit. Astralis have pretty well perma-banned it 8 times here, and every time here. So maybe they're saving it. Maybe they just chose that that's the one map they're not going to play. Maybe they just practice the other 8 maps and they're like, we're never going to play club. But maybe they're going to pull it out versus another team. It just seems like XSET's not the team to pull it out on. And then, okay, border. So, maybe one of these teams wants to play it. It just seems like maybe Astralis wants to play it a little bit more. XSET has never been seen playing it. They banned it 6 times here, and they did not play it during the NAL, and then also at this event they didn't play it at all, and they banned it 4 times out of 6. So maybe it ends up happening. It just doesn't seem like it's a very comfortable map for them. They haven't played it at all in T1. Maybe they've scrimmed it, but it seems like there's other maps they want to go to. So I'm going to say they get rid of it here. Maybe get rid of Cafe though. This is a map with a lot of tension surrounding it. Astralis went all 15 rounds versus Wolves on it. They did end up winning it. Astralis did. But they got crushed by BDS on it, so some weakness there. But on the other hand, XSET has not played it, so maybe this is where one of the teams surprises the other one and pulls it out, but it just doesn't strike me as much of an XSET map. So I think this could also be a Cafe ban, but it's possible it gets banned here, or maybe XSET wants to play it. So tricky to say, and maybe even it'll be one of Astralis' bans, but this is what I rocked with. Okay, so I talked about border, right? So we'll move on to bank. Pretty comfortable map for each of these teams in the regulars in NAL. Astralis didn't play it at all. XSET went 1-1, but one of those losses was one of those first week games. It was against Space Station. Then the next time they played it, they beat Beast Coast 7-3. And at this event, they've each played it twice, but Astralis' wins probably a little bit more impressive. 7-2 versus this one 7-2 versus BDS and 7-3 versus Chiefs, whereas XSET won it 7-4 versus Furia and 7-5 versus Cyclops. So the BDS win has to be the most impressive. It's the best team of all of these teams, I'd say, and then also the most dominant scoreline. Chiefs, the least impressive, but still both scorelines by Astralis were better than both scorelines by XSET. Astralis has only been playing it twice. They've only seen losing 5 rounds on it, but XSET also seems pretty comfortable. It seems hard for them to ban it, but it also seems more likely that Astralis will pick it than XSET. So I think bank. And then Oregon, if it gets to this point where XSET's able to pick it, they probably do. The only time they've actually played it was here. So we've seen them play it, and we've never seen them drop a round on it. It was a 7-0. So it seems like they're going to want to go there. It's not like it's a super bad map for Astralis. They seem pretty comfortable on it. 7-2 over Mirage. That is Mirage. They weren't great. But they also have a victory over DZ, but it was overtime. DZ is at this tournament. They qualified. They did pretty well in the NAL. They're doing well at this tournament. So a good team. Nothing to be embarrassed about, but of course it's no 7-0. So maybe XSET likes this map a little bit more. I think they've never banned it, and they've only won on it the one time that they played it. So it seems like XSET really want Oregon, and if they have a chance to play it, they will play it. So then Skyscraper Cafe, I feel like one of these 2 maps could be played, maybe even both of them, but Skyscraper, a little bit of a hard one to call. It seems like maybe a fairly uncomfortable map for these teams in the way that they each only played it one time. Astralis played it in the very first week of the NAL. They 7-1 Sonic, so they've only lost 1 round on it as far as we've seen. And XSET just recently played on it in day number 3 of the group stage over Liquid. So 7-4 victory. The VOD for Astralis is going to be really old. They probably updated their stuff, and this is extremely recent. So a very quick turnaround time. If Astralis is going to check out what XSET did on it, they don't have that much time to do it, but they have a full day, so they could probably figure it out. And so it's tough to call. It is impressive to beat Liquid on any map, and so taking them to Skyscraper and taking it down, that must mean it's a fairly comfortable map for XSET, and maybe they were just trying to catch Liquid off guard, but it worked out. So just based on the fact that each of these teams have only played it the one time, and they both were pretty good on it, I feel like neither of these teams are going to want to play on it just because it's like a newer map and it's just a little bit uncomfortable. This is going to be both of these teams' first time in front of a crowd, so that might be affecting them. They probably want to stick to maps that they're very comfortable on, even if they think they can maybe catch their opponent off guard. So maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't. I feel like we won't. Finally, Cafe, which I've talked about a little bit already as well. Astralis, they showed weakness, as I said, and XSET has been permabanning it, but if you have been saving a map and permabanning it, I mean, when your opponent shows weakness on it, that is the time to pull it out. If you want to surprise your opponent, you're not going to do it that much in a best of 1, maybe if they have a really weak map pool or something, but in a best of 3, maybe that's where you surprise them. I just feel like not. It just doesn't strike me as an XSET map. They've permabanned it enough, and maybe if it was like, oh, I really feel like XSET would be good on that map, then maybe I could see them pulling it out, and maybe I should feel that way. Their favorite maps are like Oregon and Clubhouse, which are sort of similar to Cafe, but Cafe is sort of in a league of its own, which I don't really want to go into too much. I just feel like we're not seeing it here. I feel like they'd rather play Oregon and probably even rather Bank and Villa, so I think that's where we're going to go. Final ban look to be Sky and Cafe. From my perspective, finally, that leaves Villa, so I think this does advantage Astralis a little bit. They beat XSET on the map, but it was a 15-round game. They just narrowly beat them on it, and otherwise, they both won it another time. Astralis beat TSM on it, and XSET beat Mirage on it. They were both beatdowns, but one was against Mirage, one was against TSM. TSM obviously a better team than Mirage, but TSM also struggling this stage. So a little bit hard to call. Forest went nuke in this game against TSM. It's a less close scoreline than this one. And so all of this put together, it seems like Astralis is a little bit better on the map. We can also look at what happened in this event. Astralis played it against Chiefs 7-5, and XSET played it against Liquid, also 7-5, but they lost it. So, I mean, you might even say that a 5-7 loss against Liquid is better than a 7-5 victory over the Chiefs, but one's a win, one's a loss. So it's a little bit tough to call. It also seemed like XSET should have won this game, that they just ended up choking it because they got off to such a massive start, and Spirits just had such a bad game. Maybe it won't happen again. Also take into consideration that in this one and also in this game on Clubhouse, these are pretty good maps for XSET, but this is the first time they played either of these teams, and also like the first times they're playing teams outside of their region in an official match. So maybe they're just uncomfortable. They beat both of them in the rematch. It wasn't the same maps, but you know, it is what it is. So I guess that's going to do it. Those are my predictions. I mean, if you have your own assessments on any of this stuff that differ from mine, let me know. Of course, yeah, I said there's tons of things that could happen, and this is the first time each of these teams is playing a best of 3, first time they're playing in front of a crowd, so I think there's just a ton of volatility. But you have all the information in front of you from NAL and from this event. There's not really any much more data to look over, I don't think. So, right, if you draw your own conclusions, let me know. If you agree, I mean, you can also let me know if you want. I mean, just, you know, comments, very cool, helping the algorithm and whatever. But other than that, you know, I guess this might be my last video for a little bit, or if I do upload from the event, it's probably gonna, or from Charlotte, I probably won't do it physically from the event, but it might be slightly scuffed. I'm trying to figure that out, but okay. That's gonna do it for this video. I will catch you guys in the next one.